materials required to carry out something like activities. What is a resource? That are present to tackle a certain issue. So a resource is anything that will be used in the implementation of any project, whether it's a human resource, it's a material resource. Sometimes it can be material, sometimes it can be non-material resources. So it's not only material resource that is required. So a resource is an available means of support or provisions that could be human or natural that can be used to attain different needs. So just as I said, it's not only money, financial or resource. If we think of resources and anything that is used to reach a project development goal, that is a resource. Anything that you use to reach a project development goal. So resources do not only include money, just as I said. It also includes people and services, goods and services. That's why I say it's anything a project requires to achieve the project development goals. That's a resource. So we should not only think of money as a resource. So what about mobilization? Let's talk of mobilization. What is to mobilize? Mobilization, what is it? Mobilization. Mobilization. Making resources available for use in a project. What else? Mobilization. What is mobilization? Well, just a trial. What is mobilization? The definition is there. So you can tell me in your own words, but the definition is there, right there. Making resources available for action. Yeah, so it's an act of putting into a movement of making resources available for action. That is mobilization. What about if we combine resource mobilization? We define the resource, we define mobilization. What about resource mobilization? What is it? What is resource mobilization? Amira, what is resource mobilization? Hmm? You don't know, but it's right there. What is resource mobilization? Yeah, Amira. Yeah, what is resource mobilization? The way we can use society, organization, or the government, assemble resources for the political. Yeah, who else? Give an example, please. Yeah. For example, when a community wants to build a home and like ask for resources from organizations, so the organization will check their place and find resources. Yeah. So it's just a way in which individuals or certain organizations assemble resources for particular purpose. If you want to achieve a certain goal, that goal you need to assemble resources. So if you are working in an organization, you'll be required to mobilize resources. As social workers, you'll be required to mobilize resources for certain activities. Sometimes you don't have the resources available. You don't have the funds, the money, the human resource. You need to mobilize those resources. So you need to find a way on how you can mobilize the resources.
Okay, fine.
So it is the process by which resources are solicited by the program and they are provided by donors and partners. So the process by which resources are solicited for a certain program, you have a program.
Distribute your papers during that time, and after distributing your papers, it's when.
So usually we rely on partners or donors to fund our activities, our programs, or our projects that we want to implement. Even in youth programs, to implement youth programs, youth activities,
if at all there will be needed to do so. But
for implementation of those activities. Otherwise, without resources, it'd be hard to implement those activities.
Not
because if you just go for
to attend some of the important classes which I executed
already, you will need fuel, transport to move from point A, where from your offices to the catchment area. You require resources.
He has been given an option
Sometimes
on Wednesdays and Fridays
materials. So those are the resources that are required. So implementing a project or an activity is not as easy as ABC.
When you choose to do all what you wanted to do, you did that, and then it.
So we should not be limited when we are mobilizing resources to only focus on money. Even financial activities are required. So even if the skills, sometimes you require skills.
To repeat this course,
you may be
and
implementing
pay another
a project,
fees
but maybe
if you are not going to.
No one with those kind of skills. You need to source them from somewhere. The skills, in-kind contributions, services, equipment, materials. Those are the resources that we are talking about.
For your betterment.
So resources can be a human resource, financial resource, material resources, energy resources. Human resource, as in a person, human beings, workforce. Financial resources, material resources like technological and information resources. So sometimes we say it can be material and non-material resources. And energy resource. Sometimes your project needs some kind of energy. Fossil energy, nuclear, solar energy,
make sure wind,
that tidal, or any kind of energy resource. So you need to think wide when you are thinking of a resource, when you want to implement a project. So let's look at the core principles of resource mobilization. Core principles of resource mobilization. We have two: shared values and reputation. Core principles of resource mobilization. Core principles of resource mobilization. The first one is shared values. Shared values. It means your organization and the organizations you are selecting, you are choosing to request for resources or for funding. You should share common values. So, fundamental principle in resource mobilization is that organization or program must take a due care to safeguard its image and reputation by selecting partners and mobilizing financial resources from with integrity and common values. So reputation matters. You need to partner with organizations or donor organizations with the same values, common values. So most public organizations and programs are permitted to accept funds from all possible sources that may be willing to support their cause. Sometimes you may be allowed to accept funds because sometimes some organizations will be willing to give you funds, but as an organization, you need to check if you share the same values. Otherwise, you may end up receiving resources or financial help from organizations of which their focus is different from what you do. Maybe it's contrary to what you do. So in this case, it means your reputation matters.
Service provided by
So
social work
similarly, most
agency
are not
or
expected to obtain
organization.
funding or work in partnership with individuals or organizations that may have conflicting values or objectives. Sometimes you may have conflicting values. What you value. Maybe it's a youth organization that is trying to promote or maybe trying to discourage smoking, and you are now partnering with an organization or a company maybe that promotes tobacco, something to do with tobacco. How are you going to make the two? Because as a youth organization, you are trying to discourage the youth from smoking, and yet you are partnering with an organization that deals with tobacco
certified
sometimes. So it depends with the values. But if you think you have conflicting values, maybe you are partnering with an organization that they say nothing about tobacco smoking, tobacco companies, JTI, Limbe Leaf, whatever, the tobacco companies. For them, it's business. All they aim at is making money. They will
to what?
buy the
Accredited
tobacco
to
maybe from different
provide.
people, whatever,
To
and they export
provide.
it somewhere. So no matter what the product to come out of it, for them it doesn't matter as long as they get the money. So sometimes you need to check when you are receiving help from other organizations. You have common values or you have conflicting values.
Specific.
Yeah, sometimes you may have conflicting values, but because like people in most cases, oh, we think of with the money, we get the funding. Sometimes you end up receiving funding from organizations with conflicting values. But sometimes you require to work together because when you are doing a partnership, you sign, you need to work together. Sometimes you need to do promotion activities or marketing activities. How are you going to do marketing if you are partnering with a tobacco company, yet your focus is discouraging smoking in the youth? So here is an example. A youth program promoting healthy adolescent lifestyle would not be expected to partner with a tobacco company. That is not to target adolescents, or that doesn't take steps to discourage adolescents from smoking. Example that I just gave. You are trying to promote a good healthy adolescent, and now you are partnering with an organization, a tobacco
Services
company.
to people.
Maybe they're already targeting the youth. Maybe they know most of the youth are the ones who are smoking. How are you going to partner with that organization? You need to think of your reputation as an organization. So another example is a faith-based organization. You are a faith-based organization. How are you going to partner, for example, a religious organization? Can you partner with a betting company? It will be hard because as a religious organization, they do not promote it. It's like gambling somehow. So they don't promote gambling, and you are trying, maybe they are willing to give you funds. But for the sake of your organization, sometimes you
as the service users,
help.
you are using this
Because you
facility
think of your
to receive
reputation as an organization. So, of course, there are some critiques. Some people say it's okay to get the funding from such organizations because what matters is how you use that kind of resource, that kind of money. But at the same time, you need to think of if you have some activities together, promotion activities, How are you going to do it together?
We are not yet accredited.
You have received the funding. You need to sign those agreements. So it becomes hard if you just think of receiving the resource without thinking of the reputation or the if you don't share the common values. So some people argue it's not wrong to receive such kind of funding as long as you use it for the right purpose. But you need to think of the reputation of that organization. So other people argue, for example, if you have a program that simply aims at obtaining funding to send back street kids to school, the source of funds may not matter as much as if your program was trying to teach children how to live morally upright and healthy lives. So when you are signing those contracts, those agreements, you need to know what are you going to be involved in. Eh? Yeah, I feel like it's hard because at the end of the day, you can't mix business with your religion.
At that university, there are people.
So what do you think, guys? Do you receive money from such organizations or? They just want to give you money. Just receive money. You can't be mixing business and their religion. But the challenge in most cases is, in one way or the other, if they are giving you money, they want something from you as well. Sometimes. For some, yeah. So it depends. That's why I say if you are signing an agreement, you need to know to what extent.
In your case, you are
sometimes,
a service provider.
What need, for example, here, you need to do some joint activities together. You take risks. But what about if you want to do some promotion activities together, marketing activities? Allocated to my doing, yes, they're integrated. So in this way, I'm giving my what I want from the arrangement. Some things I can do for you for this company. This our values are best. I can do this to your group, unless you do this. Our values are this. We are not going to exceed this level unless otherwise. So that's what you need to do, or what you need to say during the agreement when you are signing the agreement. Because sometimes, just because it's a huge amount of money, out of excitement, you just accept and sign even without reading what is expected of you. Yeah. So in most cases, most organizations, even though we say, even faith-based organizations, charity organizations, they say they want to help people who are in need. But in a little case, they have some hidden agenda. They also want to benefit from that kind of money. So sometimes it becomes hard for them to decline. They just rush to sign, but you need to check money. But otherwise, it may tarnish the image of your organization if you just do things anyhow. You need to think how you can sustain your organization. Otherwise, it can be the end of your organization. It will be all over social media. And the way social media these days, and some people who don't think positive about the organization, who are so when they look at the organization, they just see some information. They feel like, oh,
in my case, I have this and this.
Take down that organization. It will be the time. So you need to think wider before you accept any kind of help from different organizations. So the second one that goes hand in hand with shared values is the reputation. When you are asking for funding, you are asking for, we are trying to mobilize resources from other organizations, partner organizations or donor organizations. You need to check the reputation of that organization. So you need to do some due diligence to check the reputation of that kind of organization you're trying to partner with. Otherwise, if they have a bad reputation, it also reflects on the organization.
And then provided services to people.
So every effort must be made to make sure to ensure that even for an organization that has similar values, there is no potentially damaging information. So sometimes you may share the common values, but what about the reputation of that organization? You also need to check the reputation of that organization that you're trying to partner with. So the basic message here is that even a seemingly good individual organization could be under investigation for such things such as tax evasion, unfair labor practices, use of child labor, human rights violations, and so forth. So these are some of the issues that you may need to check. Sometimes you may share. I think everyone is almost on the phone. It's like I'm talking to myself. Please, if you want to be on the phone, you need to go out first. When you finish, you can come back. It's okay to go out and come back. If you want to be on the phone, just go out. Yeah. So the basic message is even if the organization might have, you may share the same common values, there can be other things. Maybe the organization is being investigated on the issue of child abuse, like the issue of most tobacco companies. They are being blamed for things like child labor. You find small kids being used in the
provider, service
in those
provider,
industries,
but they
more
do not
especially in the
give
village.
these service
California,
direct.
they use some like young people who are expected, who are supposed to be in schools, so they are being used. So you need to do some due diligence with those organizations that you are trying to partner with, even when you share the same values. So you need to conduct due diligence exercises to check if the potential partner doesn't have any issues. Otherwise, you may end up partnering with an organization which is under investigation for something, maybe child labor, human rights violations. We have such organizations. The only challenge these days is that we don't speak up. Even when you are working in an organization, you
This
realize
time
there are
around,
such issues.
if I
You don't speak
happen
up.
to ask this
But such
question,
organizations
then I
may
need the
be
EG.
under investigations for such issues. They will not tell you that we are under investigation. For them, as long as they advance their agendas, so it can tarnish your image. So these are the two principles when you are trying to partner with any organizations. Look at the values. If you share the common values with the organization you are trying to partner with, or you are trying to ask for funding, and also the reputation of that organization. So just as I said, what we are focusing on in this unit is proposal formulation, how we are going to write the resource mobilization proposal, the skills that are required when you are writing a proposal, resource mobilization proposal. Like for us, it's not easy. We rely on funding, asking funding from donors. How are we going to write those kind of proposals? How are we going to ask for funding? You need some skills. It's not just a matter of writing. How are you going to convince those potential donors for funding? So resource mobilization proposal is best done
from a
in a
certified
like as a consultative process.
social
You don't have to do it alone. It should be done as a consultative process within that organization. It should include different people within the organization. For example, the project staff, operation staff, the budget, and the finance officer. If you are writing the proposal, for example, the budget section, it will be hard for you to write the budget. Otherwise, it will be like they have some issues, like maybe the tax, they need to deduct some tax from certain kind of money. For you, you just think of the allowances. How much are we going to receive from this project? So you need to involve different sections within the organization. Operational costs. You may not think of the operational costs. You need to pay staff, fuel, you need stationery. That's why you need to involve the finance officer. So when writing the proposal should be a consultative process. So there's no standard format for resource mobilization proposal. There's no standard format, and different organizations use different.
Us together and say, guys, let me report about what we call
general examples. But when you are writing a resource mobilization proposal, a grant proposal, it depends on the format that the organization use. So a proposal for this organization might be very different to another organization. So you may think you know how to write a proposal, but when you go to another organization, they will tell you their own way of writing a proposal. So here is just we're just looking at the
components. May happen that we are on an organization, of course, but we are not
to be included in the grant proposal. You need the contact information of the key person, focal person in that organization. Because when you are communicating with such with the donor organizations or with the donors, it's not everyone within the organization that will be contacting or communicating with. You find a focal person. So contact information includes name of responsible person, organization address, email, telephone, on how they can contact you at any point in time. Maybe they want to ask for something, request for something, to communicate something. You need to provide all those details. Contact information. The second component is a summary. You write a summary of the proposal, a short segment outlining the the purpose of the initiative and justifying the need for the resources. A summary. What's the purpose of the initiative? Why do you want to carry such an initiative? And you need to justify the need for such resources, whatever you're asking for. Maybe you are asking for vehicles, you need to justify it's funds, it's financial resource, human resource, you need to justify the need for such resources. So you should keep in mind when you are thinking of resources, is not only financial resource. So whatever resource is needed, you need to justify why you need such resources. Are we together?
You have written all this in your copies. Now, I would want you to take much time.
And the other one is background and context. Background. You need to provide the key issues affecting the community, the beneficiaries. Background information about the target beneficiaries. And further explain why the initiative is needed. So it's like you are explaining what is it that the community need, like the gap within the community. You need to explain it of the target beneficiaries. So the key issues affecting the community, what is it that is affecting the community that you are targeting, and why the initiative is needed. Because definitely there is a reason why you want that problem to be solved. And the component number 4 is project description. What is it all about, your project? You need to explain it. What is it all about? How will it be implemented? Objectives, outputs, activities. So the project description, you realize it will be a bigger section. The objectives, the activities, that you are going to carry out. Because for each project, you have a project, you have because project is something which is broader. But under each project, you have activities that you are going to undertake in that project to achieve your goals. So you need to outline each and every activity that you are going to undertake in that project. And also you need the time frame for each activity. For example, if you are doing a certain youth program, maybe ending early pregnancies in the youth. Anyway, early pregnancy already will be in the youth. You need to know, you need to list all the activities that you are going to do. Maybe you are starting with the workshops, sensitization meetings, whatever you are going to do. You need to outline those activities and also the time frame. This period, after maybe this workshop, we'll have sensitization meetings. Sensitization meetings will be maybe during this period, the time frame. If when I'm sure you were taught when if you're doing the academic research, during the plan section, you include the time frame and how beneficiaries will be involved. How? Because when implementing a project, it's not just like you are just taking what if I want to help the people bring it there. How beneficiaries will be involved? You need to make sure they also participate. They need to get involved for them to honor whatever you the activity that you are doing to them, to accept it. Implementation time frame, partner institutions, because definitely you're not do it alone. Sometimes for early pregnancy, you are a social worker. Maybe there are some cases that require some, for example, healthcare professionals. Because for us, we may not diagnose some of the problems maybe maybe you meet some pregnant adolescents. How are you going to tackle such issues? You require some to partner with some institutions because you need different skills, you need different knowledge for you to conduct your project. So in the project description, you need to include all this kind of information. The objectives, as we also always say, objectives should be smart. So you need to write your objectives, which are smart there. The outputs are like the impact. What impact will your project bring? You want to end early pregnancies. What impact will it bring? To how many percentage? How are you going to conduct all those activities to end up the early pregnancies in that area? Then, monitoring and evaluation. This is another component. Monitoring and evaluation. How are you going to monitor the progress of those activities? Because monitoring will help you to know if you are right on track or you have diverted from what was planned. So monitoring, periodic monitoring helps. If you have diverted from your plan, it means you need to go back to your plan. You need to do the things according to the way you planned it. And also at the end, you need to do an evaluation. You said the outputs, the impacts of the project. Maybe you plan to end up early pregnancies by 20% or 50%. During evaluation, it means you have the indicators of to say you have achieved it. If you say your indicator is 10% reduction in pregnancy. So during evaluation, you need to check, have you really achieved what you planned to end early pregnancies by this percentage? While you're monitoring, it means you are doing it periodically to check if you are on track, depending on the activities. Maybe you plan to do sensitization in April, or maybe you plan to do 3 sensitization meetings or awareness campaigns, and you check. You wanted to do sensitization meetings maybe from January to June. And during the monitoring, you realize it's May, but maybe you have only done 1. So periodic monitoring also helps. And budgeting the cost of those activities. Definitely, if you are doing those activities, you require money, you need money. Maybe you need to talk to people, you need fuel, you need people to work there. So what kind of finance, like resources will be required? And also, you need to show the resources as an organization that you are going to put in. Some donor organizations will be interested in organizations who already have something on the ground. Some organizations, you already have something for sustainability sake. For example, if like with the issue of madvaluation akuchitika, wait, you realize along the way ndrama isikwana because they gave you the money from the beginning of the project, 20% devaluation. How are you going to manage the project for sustainability sake? So you also need to show your resources. Some organizations, they want you to know that you already have something. And some donor organizations, they fund activities maybe when you've already started. When they see you already have an interest, or you're already doing something, they don't want to start from the bruise. So what is it that you are putting in as an organization? So it convinces them. If you're writing a proposal, you need to convince them. So they easily get convinced. Also, if you meeting on front muganika kusonga, just for refreshments, but they want to show, you need to show something on the ground that you can put in that project. The other one is the organization information. Information about your organization. You need to provide information about organization. Those are the partner organizations or the donor organizations. They know who you are as an organization. What is it that you do? Your mission. If you have a vision, what is your main goal? What is your values as an organization? So you need to provide such kind of information to convince the donors.
And then by citing your own examples. To begin with, probably Modesta.
Let's have 5 minutes break, then we proceed. 5. It's 6 past. Yeah. Can you pause the video? So let's proceed. The 5 minutes is over. So here is another format of a proposal outline. You may have a project title, summary, introduction, challenges, strategy, evaluation, budget, the challenges in the problem, budget, and conclusion. So as I said, there is no one format. Different organizations use different formats. So this is another format that you can adopt or use. So for this class, we use a different version of a proposal, like in this course. So the main difference is in the middle section of the proposal, like everything is the same. So we will adopt the issue, action, impact format that some agencies use for their project development. Like everything will be the same, but the difference will be the issue, action, impact format. So the issue, action, impact is very useful in demonstrating to donors and readers that your organization is focused on having an impact. Because what the donors want is to see the impact. That's why usually the evaluation, the surveys are proposed by the donors, because they want to see what you proposed. When they do preliminary investigations and checking the information, they need to check if you have really brought an impact. That's why when you want to implement a project, you do a preliminary survey. You want to check the status at the beginning of the project. Then at the end, you do end of project evaluation to see what impact has your project brought to the beneficiaries, to the community that you are working with. So that's how you check. The donors want to see the impact. So when you're writing your proposal, you need to show them what impact will your project or activity bring to the people, or to bring change. So it becomes convincing to the donors, because all they want is to see change. If you say maybe there is 50% dropout rate in girls, maybe in primary or secondary school, they want to see the impact. If there is 50% dropout rate, what activities are going to do to reduce the dropout rate of girls, maybe in primary school? What impact, to what percentage are you going to reduce the dropout rate? So they want you need to convince them how you are going to bring the impact to the community. So this one, you have a cover, title page, contact information, overview of the company in terms of the program, mandate, vision, overall objectives of that organization, your organization. So the proposed program is where we discuss the issue, action, result, thing that I said. The result is the impact. It's like issue, action, impact. So it's on the proposed program. Then you do M&E and also reporting. The resources required, what is it that will be required for you to implement the project, value proposition, additional information, staffing, legal, like the next steps. So we'll discuss them one by one. So on the cover page title, you already know it's the same the way you do with academic research. You have the title, the one who has written the proposal, the name, and the date. I'm sure that's how you write your proposal on the cover page. That's what you write. Contact information. So for some of these points, I'll close because we already discussed. Yeah. Contact information, as I said, is a focal point that the donor is going to be in contact with, because they cannot contact everyone. So you need to provide details, emails, phone numbers, fax, whatever, for easy communication with the donor. So overview of the company. I think I also said it. You need to tell them. It's like at the same time when you're writing the overview, it's like you're selling yourself to them as well. So you need to tell them the nature of your organization, what is the mandate of your organization, the mission, the goals. You need to include in the overview of the company or the program that you want to do. The proposed program now, the proposed program where we have the issue, action, impact. So the issue is the description and analysis of the situation or circumstances that you are concerned about and required to take action. The issue. What is the real issue that is affecting the community that you want to target? So by doing situation analysis is when you know the issue that is, yes. Yeah, it's okay. And that's what we know, kind. You can greet them. You are free to greet them. Oh wow. Yeah, so the proposed program here, you are looking at the little problem affecting the community. By doing situation analysis, you analyze the situation in the community. What is it? What is the problem that the community is facing? So you should provide a clear description, including all facts and data available. Because they will not just believe your word of mouth, but they will require data and facts about the issue. Otherwise, you can just sit and have an imaginary community to say they have this issue, but they need data, facts. Sometimes if you are looking at the early pregnancies, sometimes you may need to provide data, maybe from the hospital. Simone said, sibaja agamabanga omakhala age ku maternity kuja ukamapita ku scale anyway popeza no semwezi mnabereke kupita ku internet ku scale even mukapita ku chipatala paja mukamaliza peno masaine amalemba zina machokera kuti zaka ku department kumene unalete. So you may need to provide that kind of data. They will check, maybe in a day 30% are young people, some adolescents. So you need to provide those facts and data. So why it needs to be addressed? You also need to justify why it needs to be addressed. So this one is in some organization is situation analysis. You are trying to look at the situation in the field itself, not coming from you, not having an imaginary problem, but you go to the field, find the problem right there in the field. So it's not coming from you, but on the ground level. So after reading the issue section, the reader must come away with clear ideas on how severe the issue during the situation analysis. It means the donor will be clear on how severe the issue is. What are the major causes and consequences of the problem? The major causes, because when you want to deal with the problem, you need to deal with the root cause of the problem. So if you have a problem, the first thing you need to find is the root cause of that problem. Because if you want to end early marriages, why? Like maybe in a certain community, you have a lot of early marriages. You need to find the reason why and deal with the why issue, the root cause of the problem. So how many people affected? Like percentage affected? Because maybe it can just be 5%. And the donors will be like, so you just want to target 5%. But maybe if it's a higher percentage, they will see the agency or the need to act faster. So you need to, how many people, the percentage, and also why is it urgent for action? You need to justify why is it urgent? Why do you need to address it that time? So on the issue section. So it means when you do your situation analysis, when you are writing, all this information should come out. Don't wait for them to ask you. You need to put it right there in the proposal. And the action is what the organization is supposed to do in response to the issue outlined. Action. What is it that you are going to do? The activities that you are going to do. So you need to include it in the action stage. What is it exactly that you are going to do? We should have actions to address all major causes of the issue. So our actions should not only be things we will do alone, but what about the community, other organizations, partner organizations that you'll be working with, the actions? So as an organization, as we said, you may not work in isolation. You may need to partner with other organizations, maybe even with the government. So when outlining those activities, the actions, you include actions by those other organizations. So actions do not only outline activities such as workshops, but also strategies to ensure we solve the problem. Strategies. You need to include the strategies on how you can solve the problem. So when you are writing, you need to convince them, even when you are writing the activities that you are going to do. Because the activities will address the issue that you raised. If it's early pregnancies, what activities? So make sure by finishing all those activities, you'll be able to deal with the issue. So when coming up with the activities, don't just have activities for you to benefit, like writing workshops, going for field visits, just because you know you receive some allowance. They'll feel like, no, all they want is money. And when you're coming with a budget, when you're writing, as you said, when you're writing a plan, you write the activity, time frame, and the budget, and the responsible person at the same time. So when they look at your plan and realize maybe a major portion of the budget is going into your pocket, you may not be successful in your project. So it is often helpful to begin this section by outlining your strategy. For example, we plan to partner with X and Y organization to leverage their resources and ensure full involvement of X. It will also lobby the Ministry of Y for resources to ensure sustainability. So it's like you are trying to write exactly what you are going to do. Don't leave them with questions. Which organizations? If you are partnering with maybe Ministry of Agriculture, you need to specify Ministry of Agriculture and which department. Ministry of Agriculture has so many departments. The food security, there is environmental, whatever. So you need to specify which department. Is it horticultural department? You need to specify. So strategy normally cover our plans to ensure proper coordination, participation, and involvement, sustainability, impact, and so forth. So the specific actions can be outlined and elaborated on. So when you are doing your action, make sure write in your proposal, everything should be included. So for example, action is training. You are conducting a training, maybe on a certain program. Remember, we are focusing, it's a youth program. We are mobilizing resources for youth services, for youth programs. Yeah, so we are maybe conducting a youth training. Description, the project will select X numbers of youth from the 15 poorest communities. It means you are transparent in whatever you are doing, not just maybe not telling the number of people. And you'll be like, okay, we'll spend maybe a week in Salima, whatever, and you did not show the number. It means maybe you have some ghost participants, but you need to show the number of people that will partake the activity, the youth training, wherever you are conducting the training. So the impact, as I said, is a result of your action. The impact will come as a result of your action. So if your actions are not in line with your plan, I'm telling you, you will not bring any impact to the project. So you need to be careful when coming up with your activities, because your activities you lay down, the actions that you take is what will bring the impact at the end. So the impact is a result of what you have done, of your actions, of the activities that you have conducted. So the impact will be in relation to the issue that you raised. Not like the issue was different and now you are bringing an impact, you're coming up with an impact that you did not specify, is not what was planned. That will not be an impact of the project. So these examples illustrate that we are working towards concrete, measurable, realistic, present, real changes in the situation of the community of country. So whatever we're explaining is to make sure we are working towards concrete, measurable, because like that's why we say objectives should be measurable. Because when you are collecting data, all the activities would depend on the objectives that are there. So if the objectives are not measurable, it will be hard for you even during evaluation to say you have achieved this. So the key point here is that you must persuade, convince your potential donors that you'll be able to show a meaningful and positive impact in those target communities. You need to convince the donors. So whatever you are writing, I try to convince the donors, not just for the sake of writing.
Perfect has good support there. Yeah, and a service
So the other point is on monitoring and evaluation and, and reporting. I think I already explained about monitoring and evaluation. So if your proposal has clear actions and results, then this section becomes so easier. If your actions and results, like the impacts you have to bring, are there, it becomes so easy for you to do monitoring and evaluation. As it simply tells you how you plan to measure and evaluate what you have achieved. I think I would explain. And it also includes how and when monitoring and reporting will be done. Because after monitoring, you need to report. whatever you have found, your findings. So you include it in your proposal, how and when monitoring will be done. So if it's a 1 year project, when are you doing the monitoring? If you are doing 3 times, maybe it means you are doing quarterly. So it means you do quarterly. After 4 months, you monitor, you report. Then and at the end. So you need to specify how you are going to do the monitoring and when you are going to report. Resources required, just as I said, these are all, include all the resources that will be required for you to implement the program. So you should create a result-oriented budget. You should not under budget just for you to gain favor in the eyes, but the budget depends on the actions as well, the activities that you have outlined. Because for all those activities to be successful, you require all the resources. So the resources, you should not only think of money, but you should also think of the skills. Sometimes you may have a youth program. Maybe you want to conduct a training, just as an example I gave. Maybe you need an expert in that field to conduct that training. So it's a resource on its own. So you need to think of all the resources, office space. What if you don't have office space? Or maybe the training, you may not do it in your organization, you don't have enough space. It means you require to hire space somewhere in which you need to pay the resources required. Value proposition, potential benefits of partnering with your organization. Of what value will you bring to the project? So potential benefits. Why should they partner with you? If you are partnering with another organization, it's like you are selling yourself. Why they should partner with your organization? So you can use this section of the report to summarize not only the key points of the proposal, but also bring together some key reasons why the donor organization should consider funding your program. This is a section why they should fund your program. So these reasons could include elements of your competitive advantage. For example, maybe you are cost efficient, the only program that reaches this population group, have a strong reputation for transparency. So it's like you are selling yourself, trying to convince them why they should fund you. You are cost efficient. And also, as I said, sometimes you can say maybe you already have some fundraising activities. They should know that you have something to put in the activity. You can explain during this section. We have other means of mobilizing resources. We do these activities to raise funds for the activities. Sustainability will be there. What's that office? Just because there is no funding. As our return, sizitega. So in summary, the 3 main points to cover are summary of why the issue is important and must be addressed, why organization is a strong one to partner with, what benefits the partnership could bring to the donor on this point of value proposition. So this is just the summary of what exactly should be included when you are writing your proposal in this section of value proposition. I guess we are moving together. No one is lost. Somebody is going to present during your academic research, I know. Yeah. Addition of information. In this section, you would provide background information on the organization, including basic information, its governance structure, staffing, legal status, audit requirements. So additional information, background information about your organization, they need to understand it. I think I explained it when I was looking at the components, additional information. This is where you explain it. So lastly, the next steps. Include in your proposal a short statement of the next steps. You could also show this in the form of a table This is an important but often overlooked component which can signal to a potential donor that you are both results and action oriented, like you really mean business. So traditionally, this section of the proposal contains messages of the following nature. If you are interested, like if you, the donor, are interested, we could arrange a meeting at the earliest convenience. Like the next steps, if there is need to arrange a meeting with the donor, you include in the next steps. We will contact you within the next so weeks to discuss the possibility